What the Farage time now, and Downing Street has been forced to deny that Brexit was a failure today after our very own Nigel took aim at the government for making a mess of our EU exit. Here's how he responded when attacked with a flurry of anti-Brexit bias on Surprise Surprise BBC Newsnight.
53% of people say it was wrong to Brexit. Around 1 in 5 Leave voters regret it. Economically, the UK would have been better staying in, wouldn't it?
I don't think that for a moment. But what I do think...
Based on all that?
But what I do think is we haven't actually benefited from Brexit economically when we could have done. I mean, what Brexit's proved, I'm afraid, is that our politicians are about as useless as the commissioners in Brussels were. Brexit has failed. We've not delivered on borders. We've not delivered on Brexit. The Tories have let us down very, very badly.
Now, Rishi Sunak's Number 10 operation was forced to respond this morning, insisting the government did not agree with Nigel's sentiments. A spokesman said, I think the Prime Minister has talked about the benefits of Brexit on a number of occasions. But Nigel, another Brexit backlash seems to be brewing. Among the Europhiles at the BBC, you blame the Tory government for the failures of Brexit. You made that very clear. Your comments have gone everywhere today. My real question to you is, can Brexit be saved, and if so, how?
Well, I mean, look, Dan, there's no question the reason the turnout was 10% higher than all the experts thought was people voted. They thought, you know what? This time our vote counts. We can get back control of our borders and reduce the number of people coming into the United Kingdom. That is why we got Brexit. Be in no doubt about that. And the Conservative Party, on the back of it, made all these pledges in 2019. But I know for a fact that Boris Johnson and the posh boy Brexiteers around him never really intended to do that. Boris himself talked in sort of woolly terms about control is what matters, not numbers. Well, I'm sorry, the numbers do matter. The one hope in this situation is the Conservative Party's instinct for survival. All right? Because if they go on down this current course, the next election is completely and utterly gone. They will lose every single one of those red wall seats. So the one hope is that they see the country is disgusted with their, frankly, total spin and dishonesty. And yeah, Sunak's awful, but it was Johnson on this issue. Boris has never cared about immigration. He actually wants, amnesties for illegals and all the rest of it. If they can realise their only way to survive, their only way to avoid 10 years of opposition is to change course radically and quickly. And that must be the hope. And that's where, media voices, conferences happening on the fringes of the party, opinion polls, that's the one hope. If they don't respond to that, then I'm afraid Brexit's dead. Because far from deregulating, we're actually imposing more burdens on some industry than the European Union. We have mass immigration. We have Northern Ireland permanently cut off from the rest of the United Kingdom. I don't believe Brexit itself is a failure. I believe the implementation has been a huge failure.
Yeah, no, I understand that. How do you feel today, Nigel, with your sworn enemies across the media and the Ramona elite, as I like to call them? How do you feel about them leaping on these comments from you and saying, I told you so?
To be honest, I couldn't care less. I'm not really interested in what, some saddo like James O'Brien thinks. I mean, I'm not going to let any of that worry me too much. Fine, let them do what they want. What I said was perfectly in context. And look, I was speaking on behalf of ordinary Brexit voters, people who aren't political, people who live their lives, do their jobs, pay their mortgages, bring up their families. They voted Brexit because they wanted a new start in British politics. They haven't got it. They certainly won't get it when Labour get into power next year. They've every right to feel that they were conned and let down by voting Brexit. The process of taking back control of our lives, of course, was the right thing to do. It's just that these idiots in the Conservative Party are just as useless as the bureaucrats in Brussels. And that's the sad truth of where we are. But they've survived for 200 years. They've done it by adapting. They've done it by being chameleons. They still, if they can muster the courage, have time.
Nigel, I want to talk to you about the British Bashing Corporation. They have had an agenda against Brexit for a long time. This happened last week on Newsnight, this extraordinary clash between Alex Phillips, an old colleague of both of ours, now a member of Reform UK, and that scumbag Alistair Campbell. Have a look at this.
Sovereignty, immigration, the list of it. You have failed on every
I knew you were
thing.
going to come up with, the money for the NHS. Nothing to do with me, not my campaign. And it's very rich, a man who essentially was part of telling lies to invade a country, to accuse me of dishonesty.
I think you might have lost the argument there, my dear. If I may patronise you even more. Honestly.
No, that's it now.
Yes, I will.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
it. No, that's it.
No,
That's
sorry.
it.
You bring these people on, you never challenge them. You let them talk utter rubbish about Brexit. And it's happened on the BBC for year after year after year.
I mean, he's been proven wrong, hasn't he? Because you were challenged very strongly last night.
Yeah. And after that, he put his arm right out across the table in front of Alex Phillips. It was the most menacing physical gesture. And, Victoria Derbyshire, who actually, let's be fair, is one of the BBC's better interviewers, because she's pretty tough on everybody. I actually think she's rather good. There are many that are not. She did stand her ground against Campbell, and she said to me personally, she'd never come across an interview like it in 25 years. He is a thug. He is a bully. It was intimidating. Do you know, if I behaved like that as a Brexiteer against, a Labour or Green MP Remainer, I mean, I would be painted out to be a bully, to be evil. And somehow, whilst there is a massive comment on social media, very, very few other media outlets have picked up on it. Campbell should never be allowed to go back on the BBC unless he apologises properly, fully, for his disgusting, thuggish, arrogant behaviour. And it's arrogance. It's arrogance. It was all the way through. You see, what we've also learned, Dan, in the course of the last week, Aaron Banks won his case against Carol Cadwalladr, wrote all the Russia conspiracy stuff. I was under investigation by the FBI. This was taken as a truism by the BBC's Today programme. We've also learned in the last 24 hours from John Durham, who for 4 years has investigated whether Russia interfered in the 2016 American presidential election, that it was all lies, that it's not true. This is what we're up against. We're up against a very, very powerful establishment with their media friends who do not like being beaten. And that is why I am so disgusted with this Conservative Party. They took my narrative, one that I'd spent 20 years curating, one that I'd taken abuse for. They took it, it led to an 80-seat majority, but we're learning they never actually believed in it. And that is my real source of anger today. They can save themselves, they can save the country, but is Sunak brave enough and bold enough to do it? We'll see.
Let's hope so. And yes, great coverage of the Russian hoax on your show tonight. Sadly, not really covered anywhere else in the mainstream media today. But you'll have more, no doubt, tomorrow. Nigel Farage back at 7 o'clock here on GB News.